health. Would you not admit that? Do you think we can just safely do things like this?
So you feel this way because you're so deeply concerned about the health of the people who are trying to find their place on the gender spectrum? You care about their health so much that you don't want them to go through that?
It's not something that keeps me up at night, but...
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we have got a really good one because this is Bill Maher and Neil deGrasse Tyson going back and forth on one of the most heated topics in modern culture right now, and that is transgender athletes and whether the way we organize sports even makes sense anymore. Neil comes in with a proposal that honestly caught me off guard and Bill is not having it, but what happens next is one of those moments where you can literally see someone lose their own argument in real time. You are going to want to stay for the entire thing on this one because the ending is where it all falls apart for one side in the most satisfying way possible. Before we get into it, drop a comment and let me know what part of the world you are tuning in from. I always love seeing how far this community reaches. Alright, let us get right into it.
Is it better thinking? Is it better thinking? I know you think that, you had a thing with Martina Navratilova.
What do you mean I have nothing? What do you mean?
A beef. Yeah, well, she has beef with you.
Why does she have a beef with me?
Because you think guys with dicks should get in the women's swimming pool, basically.
Well, whatever got clipped and reposted, I don't know. But what I said was that in this emergent space where you have people expressing themselves on a gender spectrum, and you want to now compete in sports, that's still a frontier to be solved. And I don't have the answer, but I can suggest one, whether or not it'll work. Maybe we don't compete by gender anymore. We compete on hormone ratios, okay? There was a woman who had uncommonly high testosterone levels, and they wanted to disqualify her because of how manly she was when she was born a woman and competing as a woman. So that's how we're going to do it.
You know, this is
what you really want. Wait, Bill, no, I've thought this through more than you might think I have.
Oh.
So what you really want is an interesting contest between people who are similarly talented. The least interesting Super Bowl you could ever watch is a blowout by halftime.
See, what we agree on is that there are anomalies in human nature, whereas
yes.
The vast majority of people, I'm sorry, are still male or female. And certainly every cell in our body is dictating one of those other sexes. I mean, obviously...
Well, the hormones are. Yeah.
Obviously also I make sperm and other people make eggs.
That's what hormones do. Yeah.
You can't deny that. Okay. So but as liberals, I think agree that, there are anomalies in nature and they should be respected and protected. But this attempt to reorganize all of society around what a very tiny percentage, who again, we can protect and respect without pretending that every baby is a jump ball, like penis. What the fuck? I don't know. That doesn't mean anything. We have no idea what this child is. I mean, that seems to be where you want to go. I mean, how many people fit this description that we should reorganize sports around? We have men's sports and women's sports. And if the best team in the WNBA played the worst team in the NBA, the score would be 1,000,000-0. Can we organize society around that basic point with this, of course, proviso that we protect and respect people who do not fit into it?
Let's segregate society between dark-skinned people and light-skinned people that nature made it that way, and that's how it is.
Well, nature did make it that way. And it's not segregating.
Well, there was a time
segregating anything.
That attitude 150 years ago was
2 years ago. You act like this was Lincoln. This was a big issue in the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Trans people. That's right.
No, I'm talking about black,
remember
white.
that from
I'm talking about
1861. Yes, I remember those debates.
It was 1860.
And Lincoln was all about getting trans. Oh, for fuck's sake! You're ridiculous.
No. So here it is. Just all I'm saying is...
Alright, so right off the bat, Neil deGrasse Tyson comes in with something that most people would never even consider. He proposes that maybe we should stop competing by gender and start competing based on hormone ratios. And I need you to sit with that for a second, because that is the kind of forward thinking that actually moves this conversation somewhere productive. He is not saying burn the whole system down. He is saying the system already has flaws, so why not explore something that might actually work better? And then Bill comes back with this idea that we are trying to reorganize all of society around a very tiny percentage of people. And look, I understand why that sounds like a reasonable pushback on the surface. But what Bill is really doing here is framing inclusion as if it is some kind of threat. He is making it sound like acknowledging people who do not fit neatly into a binary is somehow an attack on everybody else. And that framing is exactly what has been used to push back against every single civil rights movement in modern history. Then Bill brings up the NBA versus NBA comparison. He says if the best Wemby team played the worst NBA team, the score would be 1,000,000-0. And sure, athletic differences exist on average. Nobody is arguing against that. But that point completely dodges what Neil is actually suggesting. Neil is not saying throw everyone into one league. He is saying maybe the categories we use to separate people need updating. That is a fundamentally different conversation, and Bill just blew right past it. And then Neil flips Bill's own logic on him. He says, okay, then let us segregate society by skin color because nature made that distinction too. And you can feel the energy shift. Bill has no real answer. He just says, well, that is not segregating. That right there is what happens when your own argument gets used against you and it actually fits.
That. How about this? I'm looking at schools in Manhattan. And there's a school there, and there's built in the 20s and 30s. And there's a doorway that says boys and a separate doorway on the other side of the school that says girls. And I'm thinking,
God!
Why are we doing this?
Because people are mostly boys and girls?
But why split them entering a school building?
Because they pee differently? Jesus Christ, I have to explain this?
No, because you know what I thought when I saw that? It's colored fountain over here, white fountain over here. That's what I thought when I saw that.
Well, that's not the same thing.
Well, it's not exactly the same thing, but that's what I thought. It's not exactly, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
But this is what I always say about these kind of issues. There's two ways that you can be benighted about something. One, you can be too far from it.
Yeah.
Like, I would be too far from certain issues, racial issues, of course. How could I ever know?
Right.
You can also be lost sort of thinking-wise, as I am, because I'm too far from it, if you're too close to it.
Yes.
You
miss the elephant.
Well, you miss the elephant. It's the fly on the Mona Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Why the fly wants to be on the Mona Lisa, I don't know, and I can't even appreciate art, but okay, you get my point. And so, I think when you see that, I totally understand why a man of your age does, but I don't think it's accurate.
So I used to wrestle, high school and college, okay? It's relevant to this conversation, believe it or not. So I was captain of my high school team, undefeated, although...
Wow.
But it was in New York. The real wrestlers are in Iowa, and Oklahoma.
Oh, I'm sure there's some wrestlers.
There's some, but if you really balance
New
it out,
York
it's
has
not.
no tough guys?
We got tough guys, but they'll shoot you or punch you in the face. They're not wrestling with wrestling moves. But anyhow.
This is where it gets really interesting because Neil shifts the whole conversation. He talks about visiting an old school in Manhattan built in the 1920s with two separate doorways, one marked boys and one marked girls. And he says when he saw that his first thought was colored fountain over here and white fountain over here. Now the second Bill hears that he immediately pushes back and says that is not the same thing. But then something happens. He softens. He says it is not exactly the same thing. And then he literally says, I agree. He concedes the point. Even Bill in that moment could see the parallel whether he wanted to or not. And then Neil delivers what I think is one of the most important observations in this whole exchange. He says there are two ways to be wrong about something. You can be too far from it where you lack the experience to understand. Or you can be too close where your certainty blinds you. And he tells Bill, I totally understand why a man of your age sees it that way, but I do not think it is accurate. That is such a sharp and respectful way to say your perspective might be outdated. And here's what makes this hit even harder. This exact pattern played out during the desegregation era in America. People genuinely believed that separate facilities were not about discrimination, they were just about natural differences. The Supreme Court had to rule in Brown v. Board of Education back in 1954 that separate is inherently unequal. The arguments sounded different, but the structure was identical. When Neil made that fountain comparison, he was not reaching for drama. He was identifying a pattern that this country has already been through and already resolved. The question is whether people are willing to see it.
What you want is a match that's interesting to observe, not where one person dominates the other. In wrestling, they know this. There are 10 weight categories. In high school, I was 190 pounds. That was 50 pounds ago or more. I was 190 pounds. Very good incentive to stay there because if I were 1 pound over, the next category was unlimited. So I was there at 190 pounds. I'm not wrestling someone 127. No, they find somebody else at 127 to wrestle 127. That makes the match more interesting for the viewer. So if we can split wrestling into 10 categories, and that becomes the wrestling match.
But all men against each other.
Correct. So, so
again,
now I get
sort
that.
of key point.
Okay. Okay. So all I'm saying is, what is it that makes the man the man? Is it the hormones? Okay. Is it, if it's the hormones and you decide to give yourself a different cocktail of hormones, I'm making this up, by the way. I'm not saying it should happen this way. It's a way to start thinking about it.
It would be
maybe the track meets have hormone categories.
And maybe giving yourself the wrong hormones is deleterious to your health. Would you not admit that? Do you think we can just safely do things like this?
So you feel this way because you're so deeply concerned about the health of the people who are trying to find their place on the gender spectrum? You care about their health so much that you don't want them to go through that?
It's not something that keeps me up at night, but when the subject comes up, I care about them like I care about all people. So if there is something...
You do, by the way. You think about all people.
Of course.
Yeah, I give you that.
Oh, okay. You're being
You think about all people. No, I'm being sincere.
Yeah, I do. Yes. Yeah. Old school liberal.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want all people to have, make this very challenging world that we live in better. So that's why there's honest debate about this issue.
And this final stretch is where Neil brings it all home. He has been building this argument piece by piece, and now he connects it. He talks about his own experience as a wrestler in high school and college, and the point he is making is so clean. Wrestling already splits competitors into 10 different weight categories. You do not put a 190-pound wrestler against a 127-pound wrestler because that is not competitive and it is not interesting to watch. So if we already accept that dividing athletes by physical attributes makes for better competition, then why is the idea of categorizing by hormones so outrageous? It is literally the same principle just applied differently. And then Neil asks the question that really exposes the whole thing. He asks, what is it that makes a man, and is it the hormones? And if it is the hormones, then what happens when someone changes their hormone profile? He is not even saying he has the answer. He literally says he is making this up, and he is not saying it should happen this way. He is just saying maybe we should start thinking about it. And Bill cannot even engage with that because the moment you start thinking about it, honestly, you realize the current system is not as clean as people pretend it is. But the moment that absolutely seals this conversation is when Neil sarcastically asks Bill if he is so deeply concerned about the health of people on the gender spectrum that he does not want them to go through hormone changes. And Bill's response tells you everything. He says it is not something that keeps me up at night. He literally admits that this is not something he genuinely cares about on a deep level. So if you do not actually lose sleep over the well-being of these people, then what is your real motivation for resisting any change to the system? That one line exposed the entire foundation of his argument. It was never really about health. It was never really about fairness and competition. It was about comfort with the way things have always been. And honestly, that is what so many of these conversations come down to. People dress up their resistance to change in logical-sounding arguments about biology or fairness or tradition, but when you push hard enough, the real answer comes out. I just do not care that much. Neil did not have to yell or get aggressive. He just asked the right questions and let Bill answer them honestly. And that is how you actually win a debate. So what do you guys think of this? Leave your thoughts down in the comments, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.